saw the Ides of March last week,
Mm-hmm.
or for this week's show. There's maybe a little bit of cautiousness going in because George Clooney was directing it, but other than that, has a pretty awesome cast. I think for the most part we had pretty high expectations.
Yes.
Max Kreitzer, did it live up to those expectations?
Let me tell you one thing. There's a lot of spoilers that will really ruin this movie experience for you. So if you are going to see it, don't watch this yet. That being said, I was totally into this movie in the first part of it, man. Like, my heart was beating. Like, for some reason, I was just drawn in. The cinematography, we can talk about later, but I was blown away by that, and normally I don't care about that.
Mm-hmm.
The story was great. The character interactions was great. It wasn't what I expected, but it was a lot more. And I loved it, but I had one part that I didn't like that I'll come back to.
So what was way different from your expectations?
My expectations was be more about the political process, and I thought it was going to be kind of Ryan Gosling's character against George Clooney's character, like coming to realize he wasn't the great man that he thought he was, and was he going to betray him because he felt betrayed by his actions. It's not really about that. It's about kind of how it works in the political campaign and the hierarchy, and you know, how someone can get their whole life ruined if you need to blame somebody for mishaps of the campaign, or I don't know, it's just about the whole world of the campaign, but really it was about friendships and how there are no friendships.
Right.
And I'll get to the point that really let me down, but why don't you guys tell me about it?
We can come back to that.
Okay.
Sobchak, what do you think?
Here's what I'll say, like, when it comes to enjoying the movie, just don't expect, like, the conflict of the movie to have anything to do really with politics at all. It's really just about, like, Ryan Gosling's character and whether or not he retains his job. That's really all the stakes that are involved here.
Well, I think that's kind of the point is... Well, go ahead.
Well, yeah, of course, and you do care about Ryan Gosling's character because he's a good guy. And so, yeah, of course you're emotionally invested. But I thought going into it was going to be something maybe where it was like, oh man, thousands of people are going to be affected by what happens in this movie just because it's a political thriller, at least, you know, the election, and yeah, it had the potential to, like, you know, have I'm just saying, don't go in expecting it to be like this huge, gigantic deal.
It's kind of
it was still.
It's kind of a movie about villains, I felt like. I mean, not villains, but it's a dark movie about dark people, and that's what I felt like.
I think I cared a little bit what happened, but, like, you know, if it got to the point where I didn't really care how the conflict was resolved or not.
I had the same problem.
Interested.
I had the same problem, and I'll tell you exactly when it happened. But you talk about yours, how you liked it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you want to enjoy it, just don't expect to, like, you know, really care too much. I don't know.
I have no idea where you're getting at, Matt. I don't understand what you're saying at all.
I think I know what you're getting at.
It's hard because I don't want to, like, spoil it, but I guess
you're gonna have to spoil it.
I'm gonna have to spoil it. Like, I thought it was gonna. What it comes down to is, you know, a guy basically had this, you know, a political guy that's campaigning for president. You know, he basically has an affair, and now it's like, oh, should Ryan Gosling tell everyone or not? And at first you're like, well, no, he works for the guy, but then things change. But really, that's all it boils down to is, you know, he has an affair. You know, like, I read this story about Bill Clinton like 20 years ago. They made a movie about it. It's called Primary Colors. You know, like, I just thought it was going to have bigger implications. But if you can get past that, you can enjoy it. Sorry.
All right.
Focusing on how to enjoy it.
Well, yeah, I really enjoyed it, which is, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I was worried about the fact that George Clooney was directing it, and I haven't loved any of his previous movies. But yeah, it was awesome. It was, you know, Paul Giamatti and Philip Seymour Hoffman, like, amazing in it. Interesting note, Brad Pitt was actually cast to play the Philip Seymour Hoffman part.
Oh, that would have been terrible.
Really? That would have been
totally, yeah, it seems
awesome.
weird. But, yeah, I really dug it. I liked, you know, it was pretty much exactly what I expected. It was, he, you know, was kind of very idealistic, you know, had his idea of how the politics world worked, which is weird because he said that he's been in politics for like 20-some years or something like that.
Well, he said this is the first time he cared about the candidate, and he's like, I don't need that stuff anymore. I don't need to backstab. You know, I have Morris, who's Mike Morris, who is Clooney's character running for president.
Yeah, but then, you know, something happening, and you realize that the politics world is, has very little to do with politics a lot of the time, and a lot to do with completely non-political issues, but unfortunately that has big implications. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I'll go ahead and mention one part that I had a problem with.
Okay, it might be the same part.
So the whole entire giant issue that caused the
rift between
everything in the first place was him meeting with the other Democratic
primary candidates political
assistant
camp.
guy.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti, the other
Right.
campaign manager.
So what is the big deal with him meeting with Paul Giamatti?
I didn't
Just
get.
basically, it sends the wrong message to the media, which could have swung a very tight race.
I can't imagine that is a rare occasion that one campaign director would meet with another campaign director. I can't imagine that's a rare thing.
And that's the thing is, it wasn't that big of a problem, except it got leaked to the press, and he told Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's his friend, he thinks, and higher up in the campaign, but Philip Seymour Hoffman saw it as a betrayal for even meeting with him. So he's the one who leaked it to the press.
And
right.
It was.
But
the problem is he was a subordinate meeting with. Like, it wasn't Philip
It was
Seymour
about loyalty
Hoffman
for Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Giamatti.
Yeah, but see, the problem with that is Philip Seymour Hoffman jumps right to assuming that Ryan Gosling is meeting with Giamatti to, go to him to change jobs. Like, that's a pretty weird assumption, considering Ryan Gosling's character is, in love with Michael Moore, what's his name?
Mike Morris.
Mike Morris. It's just a weird assumption.
I thought it was weird, but I understood it because that happened to Philip Seymour Hoffman earlier in his career, and he says, they told me to meet with him, and it was all a political ploy by Giamatti. He didn't really want him. If he got him, he'd win. If he went to his camp, he'd win. If he went to his camp, he knew Philip Seymour Hoffman would fire him if he even met with him.
Yeah.
And so it was all set up, and that was the whole thing. I don't think it meant so much to the campaign. I think it was more about, it was a tiny problem that by Philip Seymour Hoffman.
It just seemed like a bizarre assumption to me.
Well, and it's kind of part of the build-up. And the part that I didn't like was, you really get into these characters and oh, he's a good guy, he wants his job. But then there's an intern who Mike Morris, George Clooney's character, has an affair with, and she has to have an abortion. And then she has the abortion, and she ends up killing herself. Because she's afraid that Ryan Gosling's going to tell everyone.
Right, so they just wasted $600.
Yeah.
That's your problem?
She couldn't find the money for an abortion.
That's horrible.
Anyways, so I thought after that happened, it's you know what? And all these characters only cared about what it would do to their job, and that kind of took me out of it. No one cared that they killed this girl, pretty much. Not killed her, but
that's politics, man.
No one was there for her, and that just took me out. I didn't care about Ryan Gosling.
See, I think that's the entire point of the movie. It's the death of idealism. It's that's what it's showing you. He is this good guy that you want to root for, but politics completely, turn him and destroy him, and it's just the death of idealism.
And that's why I loved it. I really liked the movie. I was so emotionally involved that I wanted him to be the good guy.
Yeah.
Because, and really, if you look back at it, Philip Seymour Hoffman is the only really good guy, and he's kind of seen as a villain too.
I think that
he fired him because he met with the other camp. That's not that bad. You know what I mean?
Well, it is when you look at how, this guy, he fired a good guy who was, really for the cause, really for this candidate, is the perfect guy in this job, and he fired him.
Well, but it was totally way too much, but he gave a good reason. He said, the one thing I value is loyalty. You went over there because you felt special and you felt like a hot shot. What good would it have done the campaign? And he's right. It wouldn't have done sorry, Matt, go ahead. Matt kept trying to talk, but we were getting into it.
Well, yeah, as you can see, the movie is good enough to spur some pretty heated debate and discussion.
Yeah.
And I guess the one thing that the movie does real successfully do is that it's not so much about plot, it's more about these interactions between the characters. And you do care about the characters because Clooney, Gosling, Hoffman, Giamatti, they're all pros, and they really infuse what I thought might have been some pretty boring dialogue. Although I'll say this, it was originally a stage play, and I did a little bit of research.
You can tell
originally, the woman was not killed. And also, George Clooney's character never appears on stage. Everything happens between Philip Seymour Hoffman's character and Ryan Gosling's character.
And see, I would have loved the movie so much more if she hadn't been killed. Because it would have been about the jobs, and is that, you could have still done the death of idealism, I just felt like that was a dramatic, a weird. I felt like it was out of place. And now that you said that, I could definitely tell it was a play before. You know. And,
I think that I think it has a lot of parallels to Moneyball in that, you know, in the
It's
end,
about
it's
baseball.
not so much about baseball or politics. It's
Oh.
about this character and what is he going to choose to do.
yeah.
And it's also 2 movies where Philip Seymour Hoffman I thought was underused.
He's always underused. All right, let's jump into better or worse real quick. We're running pretty
Yeah, 12
long
minutes,
here.
yeah.
So we got Charlie Wilson's War.
Better.
I never saw it actually. Sorry.
Better. Hangover
Better.
Part 2.
I never saw that.
It was better.
Better, yeah.
Uh,
Hangover, just too much like Hangover 1.
Yeah, I would not say it was better than Hangover 1. Lady in the Water.
Better.
Yeah, way better.
Never saw it. Yeah. Better.
Doubt. Did you guys see Doubt?
That was really good. I'm gonna say it's very close. Better.
I agree, it's very close. I don't know that I'd say it's better or worse, but it was very close. These are all Philip Seymour Hoffman or Paul Giamatti movies.
Oh.
FYI.
Yeah. Doubt was also based on a stage play.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Pine actually is playing in Los Angeles right now. He's playing Ryan Gosling's part in the stage play.
All right.
The guy from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm awake.
Sorry, Max. I just listened to you ramble for 12 minutes. Then I say one thing.
All right. Thanks for watching.